Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another review video here on the channel. Today we're talking about a January 2024 release, Georgia Summers' The City of Stardust. Some quick disclaimers before we start. I did have a digital review copy sent to me for free by the publisher, regardless of where books come from. Nobody's paying me to talk about books except my patrons, and all opinions are my own. I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as humanly possible. If you do want to go in knowing absolutely nothing, come back when you've read the book, we'll talk then. And I will link the story graph for the book down below in case you want to check out any user-generated content warnings. I'm a little bit late on this one. This was a January 2024 release from debut author Georgia Summers. Georgia Summers is currently a London-based author, though she has lived in multiple places including Russia, some of which may or may not have inspired locations that feature in this book. Right, City of Stardust, what's it about? Generations of Everleys have been taken by a woman called Penelope. Each generation, one of them is taken, the best and the brightest, all in service of paying some kind of debt that they don't really remember. Violet, our protagonist, her mother is next to be taken, only she vanishes when Violet turns 10, and so Penelope is going to come for Violet. The deadline is fast approaching and time is running out. So Violet sets off on her own quest to find answers, her mother or both. And all of this story is tied in with Penelope's charismatic assistant Alexander, who definitely cannot be trusted by Violet, but also seems to have all the answers that she needs. It's a mysterious, ethereal, sort of magical story about a quest and answers. That was a bad description. We got there in the end. There is a particular time in my life where I really crave this kind of fiction. I like to call it slightly ethereal fantasy. It's a little bit nebulous. It's not epic fantasy. It's not a hard magic system. It's just something that's a little bit what's happening here. The big comparison for this, and I think it's going to come up multiple times in this video, is Erin Morgenstern's The Starless Sea. I do kind of want to touch on that towards the end, whether this feels like a copycat, but for the moment, if you've read that, it's that kind of tone. What is the term for when there is a magical world layered on top of the mundane? I don't know. There must be a word for it. I don't know what it is, but we're dealing with that. Secret societies, exclusive extravagant parties, and so on and so forth. There is a time in my life where I deeply crave that kind of fiction, and The City of Stardust absolutely hit the spot. I think that Georgia Summers manages to perfectly pace this kind of book because it's one of those stories where things are gradually revealed to you through Violet's investigations and also through some other point of view characters that get thrown in here and there. And what I mean when I say it's perfectly paced in this instance is you definitely have the sense of you as a reader cracking things just a couple of pages before the characters do, so it doesn't feel like characters are stupidly not realising something, but it also makes you feel incredibly intelligent as a reader, and that's just right for me. I want to crack the mystery seconds before the detective does. That's where I'm at in my life. I really liked the world. I already talked about these layers of things, but I think in terms of the idea of the City of Stardust and the things that we learn about that, we don't get into huge amounts of detail on it. It's not a book that's going to deeply explain how the magic works all the time. It's explained through the perspective of characters who have a broad understanding of this, so they don't explain it to you, the reader, in detail. But I actually enjoyed that. I wasn't wanting this book to explain things to me in huge amounts of detail. I really liked the mystery and the magic of it all. It felt like a magical world you could step into without feeling like one where you needed to learn a lore book in order to get involved. I also really enjoyed the themes of this book. There's a lot to do with redemption and forgiveness and when we can forgive people and when we can't, what people are willing to do for power, as well as, I guess, almost that way in which quests for revenge or quests for power can become all-consuming. There's some really interesting ideas explored in the story. It's not the first time we've ever had a book that explores those ideas. It's a huge trope in fantasy, but it didn't feel cliched when I read it. It definitely smacks of the familiar. There's definitely a sense that this book was trying to achieve something that other books have also achieved, but it didn't feel like a copycat story. At least not to me, anyway. To be fair, it's been a very long time since I've read a similar book to this, so perhaps that had an impact. I'll also throw out that I did read this by audiobook. I really liked the audio. I thought it was well handled. I think that the narrator did a really good job. I don't know if I would have had the same feelings had I read this physically. I think the fact that the audio made me slow down and really take everything in, I feel like, and I don't know, obviously, because I've not done it, but I feel like had I read it physically, I would have whizzed through everything really quickly, gone, that was fine, and moved on. And it's only because I did it by audio that I have the experience of it that made me want to film a video about it. Things to bear in mind if you're planning on picking this up: I've already mentioned it's light on the explanations of magic. Don't go in expecting things to be explained to you. Some of them will probably remain a mystery. Some of them are up to your own interpretation. Some of them are explained. It's not the kind of story where it comes with an appendix that details exactly how everything works. I'll also throw out into the mix that I didn't love the ending of this book. I didn't think it was a great ending. I'm not going to spoil it here. I'm not going to bring up what happens in the book in this moment because that would be very mean of me. So I didn't love it. And I'll be interested to know if you have read this, what your thoughts were. I would suggest not putting spoilers in the comments. Come over to Discord where you can put spoilers in. That'll be more fun. Without spoiling anything, I just felt like the ending didn't land very hard for me. It was a little bit meh, which was disappointing because the build up to the ending had been so solid. And lastly, I do think this is a book with a really specific tone. If you've read The Night Circus, Starless Sea, I'm trying to think of other examples. What's the Watchmaker of Filigree Street is another very similar one. If you don't love the tone of that kind of book, you're not going to like the tone of this one. It's very similar, and it's obviously meant to be in comparison with those things. So, some comparisons. I've already mentioned Starless Sea, Night Circus, big obvious comparisons. If you've not already read them, I highly recommend. 10,000 Doors of January is another one that's been brought up, that kind of portal fantasy, again, worlds within worlds idea. I do definitely agree. 10,000 Doors of January isn't my favourite Alex E. Harrow, but it is a good book. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue has also been brought up in comparison to this. I do think that's true. Again, it's that tone that's quite specific. I think Addie LaRue is a little bit more emotional, perhaps. And Daughter of Smoke and Bone also got brought up in comparison to this, and I think it's mostly for the fact that we get to visit a lot of different places. There are chunks of the book that take place in Prague. I think Daughter of Smoke and Bone is a little bit more romance focused, but then again, so is City of Stardust. Maybe they are similar. Maybe they just don't strike a similar chord with me, but perhaps that's me reading too much into it. Maybe if you liked one, you'd like the other. Who's to say? You, if you read them. Overall, would I recommend reading The City of Stardust? If you do it by audio, yes. I'd be really interested to see how I felt reading it physically. I'm not planning to do so anytime soon, but I think it would be an interesting experiment. I think when that specific hankering for this kind of ethereal fantasy comes around, it is a really solid thing to have on the table. And as someone who didn't really vibe with the Starless Sea that much, I was surprised by how much I liked this. And I think it has a lot of humanity to it, and Violet's character is so strong, and you really grow to care about her and to care about what's going on, and you get sucked into the mystery in a way that I didn't find with the Starless Sea when I read it. I think I've read it twice, and I think neither time it felt particularly solid to me. But we don't need to just compare them on its own. City of Stardust, it's a solid book. I really liked it. If you like this specific kind of fiction, it will work for you. I'm really interested to see what Georgia Summers does next. It feels to me like she's sort of an author who could go in any direction from here, and that's very exciting to me. Have you read The City of Stardust? Do you have plans to? Let me know down in the comments below. If you've got any other similar books that you like, plonk them down as recommendations. While you're commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also come hang out on Discord where we have chill chats about books. I'd like to say an enormous thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content, live streams, and more. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much to you for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one.
It's gonna be some bloopers now.
Who is currently based in London but has lived in all sorts of places, including Russia and somewhere else that was on my list.